Hello everyone, Spencer Stabio here, and welcome to my recap and review of the finale for The Ones Who Live. So, you get the gist by this point, recap, review. Let's get into it. So we start off with Rick and Michonne. We see like a montage of them like preparing, and so their plan is to go inside the Cascadian base and find that file and find out what this whole echelon briefing is about. So Rick comes back and he ends up reuniting with Pearl Thorne, and they have a little chat, and Pearl Thorne is basically saying, we should forget about Okafor's whole plan. So at this point, she's bought into the whole like CRM plan. So, meanwhile, on the outside, Michonne is in a CRM suit, and she manages to sneak in, and she eventually finds Jadis's office, I guess, and is searching through there, and she eventually she does find the dossier or file on Rick and Alexandria. So she rips that up, and a guard enters the room. She takes her out, and so we cut back to Rick, and he's talking with Major General Beale, and this is where Beale is digging into Rick's character. He's basically saying, reflect on, all the kinds of people you've been, or the different, chapters in your life, because, this next moment is going to change everything. So, Major General Beale is basically saying that he has planted spies around the world in different communities to influence, their decision-making and politics, and basically this CRM's end game is to basically be the ultimate superpower and wipe out next to wipe out Omaha and anyone left that stands in their way, basically. And something interesting that he brought up is that they've calculated within the next 14 years that humans are going to go extinct, which is crazy. And basically his reasoning for wanting to change the odds. And so, meanwhile, Michonne goes to a different kind of briefing. Basically, the whole operation surrounding Omaha and how they've actually selected kids to extract before taking out Omaha, which I find interesting. So Michonne, of course, would be terrified of that, and so we cut back to Rick and Major General Beale. Now, something I want to mention that I think was pretty neat was there was a moment where Beale asks Rick, what's the worst thing you've done to protect the ones you love? And, we see that moment between Rick and Shane. We see, Rick taking out those people at Terminus, and we see basically Red Machete Rick ripping out the throat of Joe, who was with the Claimers, with his teeth, and that was a nice callback to that moment. So, we eventually, Beale eventually, is telling Rick to swear on the sword that you're all in, and, you can just tell in Rick's eyes that, he's out for blood, and so, Beale is, seeing this coming, and then they have a little tussle, and yeah, they have a little fight, and Rick ends up taking out Beale, which was, unexpected. Like, at this point, I was like, okay, let's see where this is going. So he takes out Beale and ends up putting him in this crate, which I find crazy. So, no, he's rolling him around, and he ends up in this elevator, and then another CRM soldier comes in, and, we have a tense moment where blood is starting to leak from the crate. And they eventually go up to a floor, and the soldier notices the blood, and, Rick and the soldier have a fight. And it is a pretty cool moment when Rick ends up smashing the guy's face in with his fake hand. So I like that we got a little bit of, that beast within Rick out in that moment. So Rick and Michonne reunite, and basically their plan now is to set off those chemical weapons, which is sitting right behind around 2,000 of those soldiers that are about to, have a presentation or something, which is crazy. And so they set up this, plan to, set those off. They have that dead CRM soldier that Rick killed, and also Major General Beale, who is now a walker, attached to these strings, which will, set off these grenades, which will in turn set off the chemical weapons. And then, as that's happening, Pearl Thorne catches on to the relationship between Rick and Michonne, and she realizes what is happening. So she goes out and does, catch Rick and Michonne in the act, and sets her sights on them. And as this is happening, the chemical weapons are about to explode. General Beale comes out, and Rick and Michonne take cover, and all of those weapons end up exploding. So that was a crazy moment. So, all of the soldiers, end up dying. And, surprisingly, a lot of them, or almost all of them, turn into walkers pretty fast. And so, Rick and Michonne are under this, tarp, and, they end up, coming out from under it, and then, Pearl Thorne is on their asses and trying to take them down. And, as this is going on, you have Pearl Thorne, and you have all of, the CRM soldiers turned walkers. And you have, the yellow mustard gas everywhere. So, Rick has to cover his face with a cloth. And, Michonne ends up finding a mask, and, Pearl Thorne is wearing a mask. And there's this fight that happens between Michonne and Pearl Thorne, and Michonne ends up, besting her. And Rick is, struggling with, some walkers. A grenade ends up going off, and he manages to survive. And so, Rick gets a mask, and, Michonne and Rick end up getting up on top of this crate, and I guess they're, safe from, the mustard gas, or it's, fading away. And then we get a radio transmission basically saying, they got news of what that echelon briefing was about, and, word got out about, all of the screwed up things that the elites in the CRM have been doing. And we cut to Rick and Michonne in a Chinook helicopter on their way back, and we notice only one circle on the helicopter fin. And so we finally get the reunion between Rick Michonne and Judith and RJ. So that was a really, really nice moment. And as they're all, embracing, they're hugging each other, we see helicopters overhead delivering supplies to, I'm assuming, the Commonwealth. And that's the finale. And I have to be honest. I know some of you may not like hearing this, but I have to be honest. I was somewhat disappointed with this finale. Now, I know there's a lot of, chatter going on online, a lot of, mixed reactions. Some people are saying, you've been building up something and, inside your head that was never going to happen. And then I hear, others saying, that like this finale sucked or whatever. But I mean, overall, like, I did generally enjoy this episode. And, if any of you out there really enjoyed the episode, then I'm glad. From one Walking Dead fan to another, I'm glad that you really enjoyed it. And I did too, to an extent. I just felt like the writers rushed this, and also the writing just failed in how the CRM was built up over, the years, and how they were, I mean, much of the army still exists as far as we know from this finale, but as far as like the real threats, in the CRM, they just got taken out like that, and it just felt too quick. And yeah, I guess they could do something else with, the CRM in the future, but man, I just felt like the writers had a gold mine here, and they just squandered it. But like, I get it from the beginning. I knew that the major focus was going to be, Rick and Michonne and trying to get back to their kids. And I appreciate that, but I just feel like it should not have come at the sacrifice of, an intriguing, plot or story arc or story aspect that is, the CRM, and just, just the wasted potential there. And I'm sorry if I'm sounding too negative. Again, I did enjoy this episode generally. That, like I said, that one scene between Rick and Major General Beale, when, General Beale's, basically, giving the echelon briefing to Rick and explaining the kind of person he is. That was genuinely a great moment. And of course, you have the reunion at the end, which is, a really good moment as well. And, it was overall an exciting episode. I did enjoy it, but I can't help but feel disappointed with just like the CRM in general, what they were built up, or how they were like built up over the years, and just how the threat was just, taken care of like that. And I don't know, that just left a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth. But again, from one Walking Dead fan to another, to those of you out there who really enjoyed the episode, I am glad. I respect your opinions. Overall, this season of The Ones Who Live was good. I will give it that. Rick, Andrew Lincoln, and Denai Greer, they kill it as always. And, I was glad to see them again. And, yeah, but surprisingly, I will say that I think I like Daryl Dixon better. Aside from the fact that he's my favorite character, but yeah, I think in that show I just liked the new environment and of course the evolved walkers, the different walker types in that show, and just, how it helped take like the Walking Dead world to a different level. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this recap and review series for The Walking Dead: The Once You Live. I might end up doing this for other TV shows in the future, like maybe for Daryl Dixon, which is, I think coming out this summer, so I am pumped for that. And also, if you guys, didn't know, I am an Arcane fan. I remember seeing, that show for the first time, people were recommending it, and I just fell in love with just, the visual style and the visual storytelling in that show. So I might cover that as well. But anyways, yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching, and have a good day.